Welcome to the Duarte Show. I'm your host, TJ Duarte. The American people were taught from a young age that the government exists to protect them. But what happens when the people no longer feel protected, when they feel threatened? Tonight, we're talking about Americans versus the US government. Why the federal power, especially immigration enforcement, has become a breaking point for many communities across the nation. What is this episode about? You may be asking yourself. What is this guy talking about? This episode is not only about hating the government, it's not about hating law enforcement, it's about not spreading misinformation about what is going on in our country. A lot of media are not covering this as they should be. Dog whistles are being blown every single day by our own government, and the media is just walking by it. This is about accountability. It's about trust, and it's about what happens when armed federal agents take lives, and when the public is left with more questions than answered. It's about the American people understanding that you cannot trust mainstream media. It's about us, the American people, understanding that the American government does not care about us. Donald Trump was protecting the ICE agent that killed a lady. Donald Trump is also protecting the ICE agents that are just going around shooting people if you just sneeze by them. I mean, look, it is sad to see that our own country has led to this point. It is very sad. Over the past years, ICE, Immigration for Customs Enforcement, if you don't know what that means, they are for immigration. They are to deport illegal immigrants, apparently. As explained, it's it's corruption far beyond the southern border in Texas. Arresting and armed having armed agents on the street in Minneapolis should not have a thing. Armed agents operating inside American cities. This is a tactical operation, not a plan. It's raids, and they're doing more than just deporting. They're arresting American citizens for no reason. In multiple documented cases, people have been killed during ICE operations or encounters involving the federal immigration enforcement. Families are lost loved ones, communities are protested, and many American citizens and non-American citizens are asking the same question. What and who is watching the people with the guns? When a social department uses deadly force, there is usually local investigations, civilians review boards, protected records request, public records request, sorry. But when the federal agents use force, especially lethal force, investigations are often internal, slow, or sealed from the public eye. That's where tensions begin. Americans expect the government to follow the law, but they also expect transparency when the government takes a life or a federal agent takes a life. When that transparency doesn't come, trust collapses. But you may ask yourself, at what cost does a US agent have to do to take a life? I don't know the answer because it's the extreme of what they're not supposed to do. They were taught in the training grounds to protect American citizens, deport illegal migrants, yada, yada, yada. But it seems more likely We're living under a house of chaos, fear, and murder. The American people are fed up. But what is the human cost of this? This isn't a abstract. This isn't theoretical. These are mothers, fathers, sons, and siblings, family members, working day Americans getting killed. Whether someone is undocumented, documented, or a US citizen, no one deserves to die without an answer. If you look back in the clip of the ICE agent apparently getting hit by the car, he had moved out the way before she started driving. And when communities see armed federal agents killing people and then disappearing behind badges or jurisdiction or the protection of President Trump and the silence behind it, it feels less like justice and more like an occupation. And this is the point of the Duarte show. We are supposed to not expose, but show everything that has been going on in our country for the past year. We are showing you that our president is not a man. He's evil. And anyone who sits there and protects it is like minded. But why do the youth care? Why do I care? Some people say this doesn't affect you. You're young. But I tell them this. But the youth inherit the system the adults normalize. If the federal agencies can't operate without transparency today, they will have more power tomorrow. If the government can kill people without accountability now, that defines of acceptable force keeps expanding. Young people have the right to question that. And that's why the Duarte Show is the home of the Youth Counter-Revolution. Intipation, the counter argument, we'll have a counter argument. The supporters of ICE say enforcement is necessary. They say agents face danger. They say law must be enforced. But most of the arguments deserve to be heard. But enforcing the law doesn't mean being above the law. Being above the law does not make you all knowing, all protected. We have a president who thinks he's above the law, and we are seeing how that's turning out. He's been saying he wants to invade Greenland. NATO is going to resist that tension. But back to the topic at hand. But being a law enforcement officer or enforcing the law does not make you above the law. Power without accountability is not security, it's instability. We are unstable. This is why the Youth Counter-Revolution exists. We need to show that we care and we're ready to tackle these issues head on. And I believe that what's going on in our country and around the world is going down bad. Look at the mirror. I ask the adults to look in the mirror and to think about who they voted for and why. Because if you're going to sit here and say that killing innocent Americans and injuring a police officer because you are supposed to get somewhere is flat out wrong. We are currently living, and believe it or not, we are currently living under the house of Donald Trump, of a stagnant economy, mass killings, unemployment rate higher than ever, Now, it's not to destroy institutions, but demand they live up to their purpose. Americans should not fear their own government. The government should never fear transparency. If you believe accountability matters, even when you are even if you're uncomfortable about taking accountability, this movement is for you. Who actually has authority to investigate federal agents and why that process is broken? The American people are looking for answers, as I said before this show started. It's very important that we talk about many things. This is not just one instance. It's part of a larger conflict happening across America, especially in Minneapolis. Recently, Vice President JD Vance has said that he's saying that ICE agents is going to be going door to door. That is sending an army after the American people and the people who live on this land. There's many tensions happening in our country, and we must stand our guard. Do not be distracted by media who tell you straight lies. Whether you're stronger enforcement or stronger protections, one thing is clear. Americans and their government are not at or are their government are definitely at a crossroad. The question isn't just what happened and how do we move forward without violence, without fear, without accountability. Next week, we will break down how conservative conservatives look at things and how a conservative progressive look at things. Thank you for watching the Duarte Show. See you next week.